Alright, I think we're finally live now. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so I'm using an app called Streamlabs. Looks like it's loading right now. Hopefully things are working fine. But I'm using a new app on my phone. Somebody suggested streaming using Streamlabs, so hopefully it will work. I'm just looking at a loading screen right now. I don't know what's going on. Let me go in the live chat. Can you guys see anything? Oh, I'm live? It's working? Okay, cool. Let me refresh my page then. Okay, cool. Alright. Lee, why don't you grow your facial hair? I have grown my facial hair. I've actually grown a full beard before, but I don't know. I spent most of my life without facial hair. Lol, yes, grow your facial hair. Listen, if the people want it, I'll do it. But I don't know. I feel like facial hair is something for people who want to hide their face, or somebody who doesn't have a real big chin, you know? I don't know. I'll try it. I'll try it out. I'll stop shaving from now on. Well, until I get tired of facial hair. It's itchy, and like I feel like having a mustache, it affects my ability to breathe. But let's see how many people watching now. 6 people watching now. Oh boy. Again, I should have prepared better. I will get better and better as I do more and more live streams. But I'm testing out a new app. I'm testing out the Streamlabs app. This is not through the YouTube app. So hopefully that will enable really exciting stuff in the future. You can keep it groomed though. But what's the point? What's the point of having a beard and then grooming it? You know? Like, if I'm gonna shave, I'm gonna shave, you know? Do you live in the city? Yes, I live in the city. I've lived in the city for a long time. My dad was born here, even. Lee, why don't you focus channel around explaining the issues of homelessness and rising house prices in San Francisco? I'd like to see you make videos of long commentaries on San Fran's issues. Let me look at that comment. Explaining the issues of homelessness. Well, I'm afraid... give us more vids of the Tenderloin. I'm afraid that if I focus on doing lectures and stuff like that, people might tune out. I kind of like that I would show stuff, and I wouldn't really say much except for what's going on in the video, and let people kind of come to their own conclusions instead of like forcing stuff down people's throat. Do you have any more Bart videos? Yes, I have lots. I was gonna make a video about people sleeping in the BART station, on the BART trains. To be honest, I haven't seen those gypsy beggars lately. Well, yeah, I've seen a few of them. Let's see. Why do people shit in the streets? The people, I don't know. I don't know exactly. I think they really just... I think when you live on the streets, your main priority is getting drugs, and nothing else really matters. But, you know, I've seen people... I mean, I just put up a video on people urinating in the streets, and somebody in a wheelchair peed herself on the corner of where there's the big Westfield Mall, where there's tons of wheelchair-accessible bathrooms. So... maybe mental illness, and it may just not be caring about yourself anymore. How does this compare with Skid Row? I don't think anything really compares with San Francisco unless you go out of the country, you know? I don't know how it is over in Brazil. I've heard it's pretty bad over there, but I don't think anywhere... I mean, every city has its own problems. I mean, Detroit is not that good, but I don't know of any major city in the U.S. that compares with San Francisco, especially considering how small it is. It's only 7 by 7 square miles. I mean, 7 by 7 miles, so 49 square miles. It's tiny. It's less than 1 million population, but it may have over 4 million on any given day because of all the tourism. Somebody got censored there. Yeah, let's see the other as regards to the gypsy beggars. No, I saw somebody else actually get punched by somebody who was begging for money. Do you go to Burning Man? No, I've never been to Burning Man. Alex Rivera, did you ever meet that homeless kid again, the really young one with the missing front teeth? No, that's Alex. No, I haven't seen him again. Let's see, I can't pronounce your name, sorry. Pugman Thoin. Is life in San Francisco as bad as I hear it is? From what I hear, there's practically no middle class, and it's clear to see that they have, see and have not. So yeah, life in San Francisco was hard. It's super hard. It's got incredibly wealthy people and homeless people, and I mean, there's not really much room in the middle, and people are kind of getting squeezed out. I think the median cost for a house here is $1.5 million, and the median income is like $150,000. So it's really crazy. Is there a lot of Muslims in San Fran? There's some. There's some Pakistanis and whatnot here. I mean, San Francisco's a crazy city in that a third of the population is actually foreign born. I don't know of any other city like that. Let's see. I moved to Reno from San Francisco. Comparatively, no homeless people. In Reno, I guess, right? Because Nevada patients dump people to places like SF. SF sued Nevada for that. Yeah, that's true. So, for people who don't know, there's a famous case where somebody from Nevada, I think he was blind and also mentally ill, was put on a bus with a one-way ticket to San Francisco. And apparently this kind of stuff happens all the time. Tell them about the ridiculous cost to rent a place in San Francisco. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, the place that I'm in is tiny, but it's only 600 square feet. And there's 3 of us living here. But if we had to rent this place again, I don't think we'd be able to afford it. Getting real expensive now, I heard. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Has anyone homeless or otherwise harassed you for recording videos? No, look through my videos. Look through my videos. You'll see that nobody is even aware that I'm filming. Alex the Goat, how much is rent? Oh boy. It's probably, for a small studio, probably like $1,500 a month. I don't even know. It's probably, I don't know. It's probably more than that. If you're probably not going to be able to get your own place, you're probably going to have to rent a room in a house. What is your favorite place in San Francisco to urinate in public? Probably the mall. Tesla gigafactories and probably other tech companies building. Okay, wait. How much is coke and meth? Pretty affordable. Is it cheaper than other cities? I wouldn't know. Okay. Oh look. Okay. I thought someone said it's $1,700 for a studio in Daly City. That's Daly City. That's not even San Francisco. How do you record without being noticed? Well, I use my discretion. I don't draw attention to myself. Oftentimes I'll bring 2 phones. I'll be on a phone in a conversation. I won't even be pointing the same direction. I'll look real distracted. Let's see, Jello Onion said, I was paying $2,300 for a studio in Redwood City, about 45 minutes from San Francisco. And now I pay half that here in Reno for one bedroom with pool, gym, hot tub, etc. Although locals say rent in Reno is rising. $2,300 for a studio in Redwood City, that's ridiculous. I used to live in Redwood City a long time ago, and it wasn't the place that it is now. But even that, like again, if you were to get something equivalent in San Francisco, who knows how much that would cost. Average is $3,000 a month for a one bedroom in San Francisco. That one bedroom is probably not going to compare it to other one bedrooms in other cities either. I've seen documentaries of folks living in vans and trailers on the side of streets. How common is it for people to live like this in San Francisco? I've seen people I've seen people sleeping in cars. I don't think the cops would let you just park a trailer somewhere. I mean, there are places to park your trailer, but I don't. San Francisco is very small and urban. It doesn't really have a lot of hidden places to camp out in like a camper van or something. Have you ever thought about engaging in conversation with some of the crazy people you come across? Well, yeah, I would like to interview people. I don't know about. It might be dangerous to try to interview somebody who's mentally ill, but yeah, I would. Actually, that's something I want to talk about. I don't know. Well, I'll talk about it later when there's more viewers on here. But yes, this is actually a test right now. I'm testing this app because in the future I hope to live stream downtown and talk to people. Redwood City and Mountain View are expensive as SF, if not more so. I don't know about that. Due to the absolute takeover of land by tech companies like Facebook. All right, well, what about San Francisco? We got Twitter, Patreon, Dolby. Boy, I can't even. The list goes. Razer, a bunch of different companies in here. They're all downtown. Google has an office over here. Yeah, I really doubt that Redwood City and Mountain View compare to San Francisco price-wise. There are tons of little startups. LinkedIn. San Francisco is just rife with giant tech companies. And so it's crazy. It's crazy that like right there at Twitter headquarters, there's homeless people shooting up, peeing in the streets, pooping in the streets, dumping needles in the streets. I don't know why. So there should be a campaign launched where people are just bombarding Twitter with pictures of homeless people outside of their headquarters. Instagram is coming back to San Francisco from Facebook campus. I live in Redwood City in affordable housing, one bedroom apartment paying $1,236 a month, 3 blocks from Sequoia Station. I used to live next to the Sequoia Station, actually. That's crazy. Affordable housing. That must be below market rate, right? Because I don't think disability it pays that much a month. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to say about the whole about how things are getting more and more expensive. I can see solutions for the homeless problem, for the drugs that are on the streets. I can't see how the incredible expense of the city can be fixed. It could be addressed, it could be talked about, but I mean, it really is sort of a supply and demand situation. Are homeless people entitled to social welfare in San Francisco? Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, a lot of them are disabled. I mean, there's various forms. There's There's like food stamps. So as far as SSI, yeah, I'm sure most of them do. Reno is tearing down all of the city, all of the weekly hotels, removing, pushing the homeless back down to San Francisco. Sorry, I should do a better job of reading. Reno is tearing down all the weekly hotels here and removing the vice industry, pushing the homeless back down to San Francisco. I don't know how mobile people are in regards to looking to buy drugs. I know that cities like Las Vegas actively ship homeless people here, but I don't know that limiting the ability for people to get drugs is going to cause them to move such a great distance. You should go by Food Co. and look for someone named Rocky or Lenoris. Why? What's up with Rocky or Lenoris? Is giving out free needles solving anything? Has there been any statistics shown to have reduced the spread of diseases? I don't know. I get the intention. I mean, it should be, it was started as a needle exchange, right? You give your dirty needles and you get clean needles back. I don't know that giving needles is the right thing to do. Yeah, somebody else suggested having centers for them to do their heroin there. I don't know. I think the problem needs to be trying to address the street drug situation instead of the needles, or I think people are looking at a symptom of the problem instead of the problem itself and trying to fix it at the root. How do these homeless people survive without income? How do they afford and maintain their drug addiction or buy food? Well, yeah, like I said, a lot of people are on SSI, and so they get a payment every month of around $900 or something like that. And so in the beginning of the month, they go out and do a lot of binging. There's a lot of shelters. There's a lot of food services. There's this pretty famous church, Glide Church, which will feed people lunches and dinners. A lot of people volunteer there. There's other sort of soup kitchen-like places for people to get food. Yeah, how do they survive? The city spends a lot of money keeping people alive. The average homeless person costs the city $40,000 a year because of their incredible poor health. Let's see. Hold on. How do they afford? Okay. Okay, there's been huge connection. Oh, look. I don't know if you see that there, but that's part of Streamlabs. When you subscribe, it shows up in stream. Let me see. There have been huge contentions around the safe injection sites in San Francisco. I saw an article that city attorney warned the new mayor that injection site may violate federal law. Yeah, I guess I could see so, because you're essentially condoning an illegal activity. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that the safe injection site is really the correct answer. I mean, one thing I noticed is there's a movement to try to extend like conservatorship and take a lot of homeless people into conservatorship and sort of take away their rights so they can take care of them more adequately. I used to be a caregiver, and I took care of people who were under conservatorship. I guess the main problem with being under conservatorship, you have less rights, obviously, and you're not really in control of your finances. But if there's if you're putting homeless people into conservatorship, there really is no finances to really consider. That may be the thing to do, and they should probably also consider addiction a mental illness, so they can show that people are incapable of taking care of themselves, and so they can put them under conservatorship, treat their addiction properly, and try to help people recover, because it's making more shelters is not the answer. You know, moving shelters around, tearing down tents, taking blankets away from homeless people, none of that is just making people more miserable is not going to fix the problem. Okay, let me see. There's several questions. Okay, Jello Onions. I work in a local grocery store in the Mission called Gus's. There were needles and condoms and tampons littering the streets near there, and SPCA. Prostitution was rampant in that area after dark. Yeah, the Mission can be scary. Oh, I almost saw somebody get stabbed over in the Mission. I mean, I was in there in the mix. I had the potential to get stabbed also. I don't know if you guys want to hear that story. Do you ever find your encounters humorous? I love the guy at Walgreens insulting the workers as John Wayne. That guy was hilarious. Google flagged that, or YouTube flagged that video, but I thought that guy was awesome. So basically what happened is he's trying to leave, and apparently he had a newspaper that he didn't pay for, and he didn't know it, or whatever may have happened, but they stopped him, and then he just went off on everybody over there. I want to hear all your stories. Man, I have so many stories. Here, let me know what you want me to talk about, because I can talk about a whole wide, I mean, there's so many stories I can share. I mean, I can talk about what it was like in the foster care system. I can talk about the crazy things that I've seen in San Francisco. I could talk about that time that I was just talking about, where I was over in the Mission and somebody's trying to stab somebody, and yeah, I don't know. Give me a subject and I will share a story on it. Scariest moment in SF. Scariest, well, I mean, I've had a few scary moments. I guess that time I talked about last time, where I was going up an escalator, and there was some gang members passing back and forth a gun at the top of the escalator, and I was already on the escalator moving up, and they're at the top of the escalator. You know, that was pretty scary, because I was trapped. There's like, I can either play it cool and try to go through and pretend like there's no issue, or I can flip out and try to run down an upwards moving escalator to get the F out of there. So that was a scary situation. One time over in the Tenderloin, I was walking at night, and this big Samoan guy with a mask on, the two Samoan guys, came over, were walking straight towards me, and one sort of bear hugged me, and another guy was showing me through his pocket that he had a knife. I mean, that was pretty scary, but I mean, fortunately I was able to get out of that, and I wasn't mugged or anything. I just kind of broke my way free, and then shortly afterwards a cop car went past. I mean, it's crazy. So I waved down the cop car, and I tell him, like, hey, you know, these guys just tried to mug me. These guys wearing masks just tried to mug me. And he was like, all right, and he brought out a little pad, and he's writing down my information. And I was like, no, he went right around the corner. Let's go, I'll show you them. And he's like, all right, and he's writing it down. I mean, it's ridiculous how much he didn't care. Let's see, anything. How often do you smoke reefer? I don't smoke. I don't drink. Do you ever find your account? Oh, I already read that. Are you going to finish the documentary you're making with your friend? You don't know how much I want to finish that. So for you guys who don't know, my friend, his name is Carlos. I want to film a documentary talking about, I want to share why people go into foster care, and what life is like in foster care, and how foster care kind of sets you up for failure. And so I filmed one little section of that with Carlos, talking about his life and what brought him to the point to where he entered the foster care system. I made a little rough cut. It was for a school project, but it's something I want to make a full-length feature about. For you guys who don't know, Carlos was orphaned. You know, he suffered he suffered sexual abuse and other abuse, and his mom died of cancer, and he went with his uncle, and from there went into the foster care system. So that's how he entered. The thing is, I think a lot of people think of foster kids or kids in group homes or whatever as being bad kids, when really they're hurt and abused children. And the abuse only really starts when you enter the system. So I wanted to show that it's sort of a broken system. A lot of the people you see on the streets live a similar life. And I talked about this last time too. 50% of those people who age out of the foster care system become homeless. So yes, that's a documentary that I find incredibly important. I'm proud of what I did, but I never made that video really public, because I want to have the full thing out there. I want to talk about my own life story. But it's hard. You know, Carlos is struggling with his own problems. You know, he struggles with addiction, and yeah, it's something that's hard, but it's something that I'm working on. I mean, I'm telling him that you know, people would like to learn his story and learn more about him. I mean, he's really unlike anybody else I've ever known. But I mean, I was just talking to him last night. I mean, he goes on these crazy walks. He goes on like these 50-mile walks just at the drop of a hat, and he sees the craziest stuff. I mean, he wanted to give me some footage for my channel, but it's like the stuff that he sees is just too crazy for me to put up. I mean, especially since I just got flagged. I mean, he's seen some grisly stuff. He saw somebody get hit by a car inside of a bus station here in San Francisco, inside a bus stop. And yeah, I saw that footage. It was grisly. He's seen people get shot. He's seen all kinds of crazy stuff. So I told him what he should do. He should just walk around with a GoPro on a chest mount. Yeah, but anyhow, how do you think SF compares to Oakland, generally speaking? It's different. I mean, I haven't been to Oakland recently, but Oakland is known for its gang violence. I heard things are changing over there, but Oakland's not really a place that I'm really interested in going to. Just, I guess because I've lived my whole life with it being sort of an unpleasant place. Do you carry anything to protect yourself? No. I mean, I am 6'8". I'm not exactly a small person. If I ever feel, maybe sometime in the future, if I ever get famous or something, I may carry pepper spray. How do you think SF... Okay, I already said that. Are you going to finish the doc... Okay, I already talked about that. Yes, I want to finish that documentary. I feel like it's an important documentary, and I want to dispel a lot of the myths around the foster youth. Anybody else have any other questions or anything? Sorry, I'm sorry if I went on for too long and was boring anybody talking about Carlos. Yeah, I would love to do documentaries. I find documentaries super interesting. Let's see. I'm just going through the questions right now to see if there's anything that I missed out on. Is there a lot of street crime, i.e. street mugging and sexual assault? Yeah, you could actually, there's a website that you can go to where you can see all of the crime as it happens, or as it's reported. There's the map where you can see, like, you know, you could search for sexual assaults and see where they are on the maps. You can see all the various crimes. San Francisco, I looked this up a few years ago. I don't know how it compares now, but you can compare the crime statistics between cities. I don't think that that San Francisco is the worst city out there. Let's see. How do you? Okay. I remember 10 years ago or so, I would go to concerts in Hunters Point at a venue. Oh, Hunters Point. That's not a good place to go. At a venue called The Pound. I would get a cab to drop me off during the day, but not pick me up after dark. I lived over in the Bayview, which is right next to Hunters Point, and it's dangerous because it's so close to Hunters Point. I've tried to call cabs there during the daytime and they wouldn't pick me up. I was renting a room in a house there, and I was the only one in that house who was not assaulted. There was this guy who came over from Germany, just came home with a black eye. Just said he was walking down the street and somebody punched him in the eye. Hunters Point. Hunters Point is dangerous. Police don't even go there alone. They won't go in Hunters Point without backup. When I was over in the Bayview, I saw somebody with a knife that I thought was going to stab somebody else. I called the police and nobody came. That's scary. Tell us another story. Maybe one from when you are in the system. Oh boy, this podcast is going to be super long if I do that. Oh, Dead Danyan gave 229 euros. I see something popping up on my screen. Do you see that? There may be a delay. Thank you, Dead Danton, for the super chat. Hopefully the delay is not excessive. Oh, there it goes. All right, that's how long the delay is here. So I'm sorry if there's any lulls. Is Hunters Point getting gentrified? I don't think so. The Bayshore is. They're trying to rebrand it as Candlestick Point. And they're also trying to develop on the marshland that's over there. I mean, I don't know. The Bayview, when I lived over there, was, I mean, it was dangerous. There's urban decay, but it was kind of beautiful there with the untouched nature that they have there. But I'm sure that they're just building up all over all that. I used to I would see coyotes. I would see raccoons. You'd see stuff you would never expect to see over in San Francisco. Let's see. Is Hunters Point getting gentrified? Oh yeah. So to answer your question, I don't really read the news, so I can't say for sure, but I don't think so. I know a lot of the reason why it's so dangerous is because they have big projects over there. So it's going to be hard for it to get gentrified. People care about safety. Okay. Get Crack for Me says, yep. Any interesting happenings in Chinatown? Well, not things that I've seen myself. I don't really go. See, here's something. I talked about last time about the tongs over in Chinatown, and how the underworld still exists there. That is something that's dangerous. So that would be a hard subject to explore, and to also guarantee your safety. Not that long ago, somebody was shot, and I think Li Lin Yi, who was a representative, is now in jail for his dealings with somebody who was affiliated with one of those tongs. The pound. Let's see. 3rd Street below Cesar Chavez still sketchy. Dog patch is definitely safe. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Let me think. Let me try to think. I never had any real. Oh, I know one. Well, I mean, I guess it's not really crazy, but my wife was trying to work on a community service project for the Chinese population, and she was filming over in Chinatown. There's people who are like, you know, trying to cover their faces and try to hide from the camera, just out there in the park. Yeah, no, okay, let's see. Do you think that with the new Golden State Warriors stadium that'll affect some kind of change in the area? I don't know. I lived over in the Bayview. You know, they had the ballpark over there. That didn't really change anything. People just come in and go, you know, whenever there's an event. I don't know that living next to a stadium is a huge bonus that draws people from all around. How to think, you know, if you look at where the really wealthy people live here in San Francisco, it's over in the Presidio, where they're kind of away from everything except for the parks. Yeah. Well, anyways, I wanted to talk about something also. So I launched my Patreon. Right now, no one really seems interested in that, but I also, at the same time, at the beginning of the month, I ordered a bunch of shirts as sort of rewards, but I don't think people are going to sign up for it. I was thinking of doing a live stream, sort of a weekly live stream, just going around downtown and giving shirts to the homeless people downtown anytime somebody donates. Is sort of a way to be able to start to talk to people downtown and hear their story, and to give something. See, when I was a homeless, there's no real way. There's no problem getting food, but I never was able to get fresh clothes or anything like that. So I guess it would be a way, in my own small way, to give back. Yes, that's a good idea. Yeah, see, the only problem is there seems to be a huge delay. I'm going to move my hand here, and I'll tell you when I see it on screen. So I'm going to have to try to fix the latency, and hopefully I'll be able to stream from mobile service. I'm still not seeing it on screen. All right, right there. I just saw my hand wave. So that's the kind of latency. What's your Twitter? It's Lees, that's LEES _ channel, CHANNEL. Hey there, chicken salad. But yeah, so right, that's why I'm testing this this app right now. If you guys go over to streamlabs.com/Lee Malcolm Hester, it's in the description. And like donate, I think you only need to donate like $1, and I have it set up to where it should dictate whatever you say. So theoretically, I should be able to go around downtown. You can send a message, it will read it out loud for people to hear, and you could also sort of ask questions or interact as well. Yeah, the delay is huge. It's like what, 45 seconds. And I'm on Wi-Fi here too. I haven't even tried to stream from the from 4G. In downtown, there's going to be a lot of people using those 4G towers too. San Jose is full of homeless people. It's incredible. I used to live in San Jose. And it was not good there either. I wasn't able to go to the schools. The schools were full of norteños, you know. After school got out, in my elementary, like, there'd just be gang members, you know, just posted, just on the swing or on the slide, or just walking around, you know, the courtyard. My friend was a Sereno too, so that was no good. That's not gonna work good when there's like 50 people trying to chat to you, though. Love the idea, but it sounds like a clusterfuck. Well, I'll try it out. You know, a viewer suggested it, and I said it wouldn't work, but maybe it will. I'll try it out, see what happens. But yeah. Man, this delay is insane. Okay, I'll go back up. Get cracked for me. Yeah, I know someone whose uncle is in the triads. He goes to Burma from time to time. Wow, that's crazy. Burma or Myanmar is a pretty crazy place too. What is your ethnic background, out of curiosity? It's European. I think it's mostly German. From my mother's side, they were part of the 1848ers, the German intellectuals that sort of fought for democracy over in Germany, and then left and came over to Texas to start agriculture and brewing and stuff over there. And then from my father's side, his mother came here from Bulgaria during World War II. I think his dad, my father's father was actually like the illegitimate son of a famous concert pianist. I think he was either Swiss or German, and his mother was from Finland. Thank you, Chicken Salad. Thank you, Oying Nip. Yeah, so anyhow, my ethnic background's probably mostly German. My grandmother from Bulgaria was Sephardi. What's your favorite dive bar in SF? I don't drink, and I'm married, so I don't go over there. Forgot about your dad. Are you still not talking? No, I'm not talking to him. I don't think I can forgive a lot of things, but it's impossible to forgive somebody who doesn't accept responsibility for their actions and is not apologetic. So my dad is somewhat apologetic, but assumes no responsibility for his actions and blames me for it. So I can't forgive him. He's essentially made himself unforgivable. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you guys are mentioning a lot of places that I used to live. You know, San Jose, Redwood City. Have you ever listened to Michael Savage, the popular radio talk show host who lives in the city? No, I haven't. He also details the crime and homeless issues in the city in a more colorful way, though. And probably in a more aggressive way, right? The only thing I know about him is that he had like a feud with Adam Carolla a while ago. Adam Carolla, or maybe Howard Stern, I forget who. Um, Jello Onions, why don't you tell me about what you see over in San Jose? I used to live in San Jose. I used to go to Alex Anderson Elementary over there. That's the school I was talking about. That'd be filled with gang members when school got out. Yeah. Although it's not the 90s anymore, so it might be different nowadays. Do you believe that London Breed will do something about getting homeless off the streets? No. I completely have no faith that she's going to do anything to solve the homeless problem. Right now, what I see is that she's doing publicity stunts where she's walking through the streets and pointing out where garbage is. From what I've seen, like I said, I don't follow the news closely, and I'm pretty apolitical. But from what I've seen, everything seems really superficial. For there to be any change, it's going to have to be a radical change. Like radical meaning, from the root. How about your opinion on Gavin Newsom's rise to power? I don't know. I met Gavin Newsom's wife before. These charismatic people who take public office, I don't think that they take office for the right reasons. I think a lot of people take office because they want to be famous, because they want something. They're not doing it for altruistic reasons. They're not trying. It really should be, you should be a civil servant. You should be sacrificing yourself, your time to try to fix things in the city, or fix things for wherever you represent. And that's not what I see. What I see is people getting famous and wealthy. People from privilege gaining power and using it to further things for themselves. San Jose had to remove the jungle. Oh man, I wanted to take my daughter there one day. Wrong jungle. Okay, San Jose had to remove the jungle, one of the largest homeless encampments in the United States. Since then, the homeless have moved on into the streets and under the overpasses. Sorry, I thought when you were talking about the jungle, I thought you were talking about that children's place where they have all the arcades and slides and ball pit. So yeah, I didn't know about that. But if you go on Caltrain and take a train ride from San Francisco to San Jose, from San Francisco to Palo Alto, it gets better and better. You're like, wow, look at this. This is amazing. This is beautiful. Wow, isn't this pleasant? And then you go from there on to San Jose, and it gets worse and worse. You're seeing like graffiti everywhere. You're seeing encampments, and yeah. Let's see. My friend was a poli-sci major and intern for Gavin when he was mayor. He drove his friends around, then he drove through the Excelsior district. This is still SF? Looks third world. How long were you homeless? So, let's see. Alright, so, when I went through the system, the last place I was in was this place called, Mary Ann Carpenter's, or Mac House. I was there until I was 18, and then I was dropped off outside of the Larkin Street Youth Clinic, or not youth clinic, sorry, the Larkin Street Shelter, when with all my stuff in black plastic bags, trash bags. From there I had to get on a waiting list. And I had to have to call in because there's only so many beds and there's so many homeless people. So it took probably like 3 weeks or a month to get in. I actually ended up sleeping there one day before I was supposed to, or But anyhow, that's not a really interesting story. But so it took, like, let's say 3 weeks to get in there. Once I was in there, you're only allowed to be in there for like 4 months, and then they kick you out. But while I was in there, I got a job, and I was working and trying to save up. Then from there, I went into another. I went into this program for youth called. It was called Guerrero House, and it is over on Guerrero and 21st Street. They had like 20 people living there. It's a big mansion, and I stayed there for about 1.5 years until I moved in with Carlos. Carlos and I were roommates, and yeah, so I guess during that time before that I was essentially homeless, but after that, homelessness has been a struggle, like most of my adult life. It's always there, it's always looming, and I was sharing a place with my friend Carlos, and it was hard. It was hard to pay there, I was working at Abercrombie and Fitch, and Circuit City before that, making minimum wage, and we'd be just eating beans, that was what I was living off of. Was just, I'd buy big sacks of beans from Safeway and just cook them in a rice cooker, and that's all I was living on. And lived like that for a while, and then Carlos went back into the homeless shelter, and then I was alone inside of that place, paying $800 a month, and I couldn't afford it. I was working 60 hours a week, trying to stay there, and that was not. Nowadays, you get $15 an hour. Back then, it was $9 an hour, and the rent went up, and I just couldn't afford it. So let's see what happened after that. I stayed at friends' houses. I was over at City College. They have a program out over there for people who are former foster youth. I talked to the person over there, and they had a program at the same time where they keep, they had a deal with one of the hotels, and so I was able to stay in a hotel for a little while I was going to City College, but that again was only a sort of a temporary thing. Then there was also another program where the city gives former foster youth like stipends to pay for rent. So I tried to apply for that, but people were sort of fighting me the whole time. They wanted me to go into a program instead of going for that stipend. And against my better judgment, I listened to them, and I ended up going to another place over in South San Francisco, and I was really miserable there, because it just brought me back to when I was in the group homes. And I couldn't exist like that, so I went back over and stayed at a friend's house and saved up money working at the Orpheum Theater and the Curran Theater and the Golden Gate Theaters here in San Francisco, and then moved out and rented rooms and stuff. So until eventually I was able to do a bit better, and then got a place with my girlfriend and got married, and so that's where we're at right now. So throughout my young adulthood, homelessness was always a constant threat, always, even though it was something that I was only really technically homeless for a small portion of time, but it's just a constant looming threat. And I sort of swore to myself that I would never be homeless again, and it never happened, despite the odds and despite what everyone was telling me. Let's see. Do you go to any pre-post Burning Man parties in SF like Space Cowboys? No, I don't really party. What's your opinion on reducing the things provided to the homeless? Do you think SF is generous and lenient, or is too generous and lenient in regards to the homeless? I think that people are too eager. They're too eager to try to throw money at the problem without thinking about how it's going to fix stuff. So people feel good about giving money to something. You know, something goes on the ballot and says, you know, add this or that, give this or that. People are going to be like, yes, why not? And then they could feel good. But nothing is going to change if you don't solve why people are homeless in the first place. I think one of the big factors is the foster youth. I think one of the big factors is people being abused as children. I think addiction is a huge unresolved problem, and giving food or giving needles or making more shelters doesn't solve any of that. I think they'd be better off building more mental health facilities, if they want to build something to take care of those people who are, you know, chronically mentally ill. You know, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Okay. What brought you out of the city and into Silicon Valley when you lived in RWC? I don't know what Redwood City. All right, so that's sort of a long story. So, yeah, I was born in Palo Alto, and I lived with my dad. He moved over into San Jose when I was 7, and from there, I mean, he beat me. Well, I mean, I mean, there's lots of details, but anyhow, he would beat me all the time, and I would always run away. Eventually, I was picked up by a fire station when I was sleeping on a bus stop, and they took me in, they talked to me, and then I was entered into, somebody from CPS, Child Protective Services, came over and talked to me, and I was like 11 at the time, and I was taken into this shelter over in Santa Clara called the Bill Wilson Center, or shelter, and stayed there for like a month and 3 weeks. And over there, they were asking me questions about my mom. And so I became really curious about my mom. You know, all I had known about my mom previously was what my dad had told me. What my dad was telling me was that she was taking the equivalent to crack in a pill form. So they're like, that's what I explained to them. They said, no, crack doesn't exist in a pill form. And but anyhow, they kind of forced me back into my father's house. Over there, I kept asking him about my mom, and I was sort of set up to meet with my mother, and met with her one time. She lived over in Redwood City, and then went to go spend the weekend there, and then I called and said that I wanted to live with my mom. So from that point on, I lived with my mom, and she was in Redwood City. She was doing well when I met her, but she was a paranoid schizophrenic. She was on Zyprexa, which is an antipsychotic medication, which also causes seizures. So she was also on an anti-seizing medication, and which was an opiate, and she was on other sort of opiates at the same time, and it all kind of interacted with each other, and it eventually got to the point, you know, where she was up all night and then sleeping all night, and she was bumping and crashing around, and I couldn't sleep. The kitchen was disgusting. She would try to clean up and smash more stuff. You know, she hadn't slept, and I hadn't slept in 3 days. I hadn't eaten. I hadn't been drinking water in 3 days. So I got really sick and had to go to the hospital, and I told them what was going on then, and then I entered the system. So there I lived over, I mean, they took me into a children's shelter in San Mateo called the Receiving Home, which was right there by the big mall. It used to be called Chope. I mean, not mall, sorry, hospital. It used to be called Chope. Now it's called something generic. But, you know, from there, once I was in the system, I would go, I went to bunches of different group homes. So I've been all over the place. That's why I've been in Redwood City. I've been in San Mateo. I've been in San Jose. I've been over in Napa. I've been over in Angwin, which is a little small place over by Napa. I've been in South San Francisco. I've been in Sacramento. I ended up I went to like 18 different schools growing up. So, greetings from Romania, Lee. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I wish I knew something in Romanian, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm probably forgetting some cities that I've been to. I mean, you know, I heard Mountain View mentioned. My dad's store is over in Mountain View, you know, so I'm familiar with Mountain View too. I've lived all over Northern California, you know, specifically around the Bay Area. Does anybody else have any other questions? I'm sorry, there's a huge delay here, so if I may ask, why don't you move to Nevada or somewhere cheaper and safer? So I guess San Francisco has a lot of problems, but I really love San Francisco. I love the climate. I love the I don't know. It's something growing up that I've always been drawn to and I've always loved. It's kind of weird, right? Because the cost of living is so high, but it's maybe something that I have to do later, but it's not something that I want to do. And I always remember, you know, when I was a kid, there were so many cool people who lived over in San Francisco, and now most of them have left. And I don't want to just give up and leave without giving it a shot, you know? I mean, we used to have like really cool people like R. Crumb living here, and now he's living over in some commune over in France. Lots of really cool and interesting people. And I guess I've lived here so long already, you know? I don't know where else I would want to go to. That, and you know, I'm just one person, you know. I have a wife. She has family over here. You know, we have a child here. I mean, obviously, if I moved, I'd go with my child, but you know what I mean. Anybody else have any questions? Feel free to spam out questions while I talk, because there's such a delay here that I end up just waiting for a minute looking for another question. How often do you travel out of state? Not very frequently. Um, I've been, when I was a kid, I went to Oregon State University. So when I was like 15, like 14 and 15 or 15 and 16, they had a pre-college visual arts program, and I was able to go over there and study figure drawing. Have you been approached by someone who saw you filming? Yes, one time I was filming a meth addict, and a dealer who was standing on the corner stopped me and asked me why I was filming. That was pretty uncomfortable. Or out of the Bay Area, at least. I may have to move. It may be something that I have to do. Of course, if I move, then what's going to happen? Like, what is Lee's channel then? You know, like, hey, here I am. You know, this is, I don't know, Nevada. You know, let's go over to Las Vegas and take a look at what's going on over there. SF had special people, is true, yeah. Oh, and were they angry? Yeah, that guy was angry, but I tried to pretend like I didn't know what was going on. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I don't know what's going on with it. And then I got out of there. I'm going to scroll through and see if I missed any other questions. Part of the reason I left was because I resigned myself to the realization that I would never own a home here or land. I know, I really wish that I could get a house. Yeah. I mean, that's something that I've always wanted to do is have a house. Oops. Have a house and like, you know, be able to grow something, like have a little orchard in my backyard. But oh well. How do you feel about the taxes? I always hate how it feels like it's so expensive and it's wasted on a lot of corruption. Yeah, but that's true anywhere you go, right? I don't know, anywhere you go, any government, any place you go in the world is going to have corruption. The good news is that you can talk about corruption in this country. One of the big reasons why I want to settle elsewhere and avoid buying things when I'm outside of Oregon. Yeah, Oregon has no sales tax. Any experiences in Little Italy? Yes, the hotel that I stayed at, the St. Paul Hotel, or now I think it's the North Beach Hotel. I lived over in Little Italy, and it's really cool over there, or at least it was when I lived over there. It's one of the few places in San Francisco that actually has sort of a night scene. Yeah, no income tax in Nevada. North Beach. Yeah, North Beach. No income tax in Nevada. Yeah, but it's not. Let's not pretend like Nevada doesn't have any issues with corruption. How do I feel about the taxes? I mean, yeah. There's a problem here in San Francisco. There's probably problems in lots of other cities too, where what's being put onto the ballot. I mean, the everything that goes onto the ballot, all the measures that get passed, are all things that benefit big businesses or powerful unions or lobbying groups. So we constantly are having stuff on the ballot about, oh, let's renovate this, let's pour money into like build this, build that, and it's all being funded by the contractors union. So we're building something and then renovating it and then building on top of it and renovating it again and just constantly pouring more money into the contractors union. Hi Lee, do you keep in touch with the friends you have met in the shelter from all those years ago? I remember seeing one of them in your early videos eating a hot pepper. Yes, that's Carlos. He and I met inside of the system. We met inside a group home, and we also went. We also were in some foster homes together. I wish I wish I could stay in touch or be able to contact a lot of the people that I went through the system with, but a lot of them succumbed to addiction. You know, I knew somebody that I went through that I was in the children's shelter with. Her name was Ashley Farrell, and you know, we were friends in the children's shelter. I saw her later over on in Mac House here in San Francisco, and I had her number. Last time I talked to her, she was over in Golden Gate Park, and you know, she's a meth addict. So yeah. How do I feel about the sugary drink tax? The sugary drink tax, the concept behind it is we'll tax these sugary drinks and then people are going to be healthier. The reality is that we'll tax these sugary drinks, and these people who, you know, if you look at the demographics, are poor people are now going to be poor because they're going to be paying more for those same drinks. It's not something that honestly has their best interests in mind. It's not like people are going to stop drinking whatever sugary drinks they had before because it's slightly more expensive. Let's see. How powerful is the homeless coalition, I guess? I don't know. I'm not familiar with it. Have you ever been to Alcatraz? When I was a kid, when I was over in the shelter, they had an outing. They said, we're going to ride a boat over to Alcatraz. I was so excited. And, well, first they told us it was going to be a cruise. I was like, whoa, a cruise? I thought we were going to go on a real proper cruise. And we went there, and it's like, no, we're just going to Alcatraz. Like, okay, so we went on the boat, and it was just literally a boat out into the bay and then back again. We never even went to Alcatraz. So no, I haven't been there. You know, it's interesting. More people visit Alcatraz than the Grand Canyon, which is sort of a crazy thing to think about. That more people visit a prison on a rock than a amazing natural monument. Let's see. Is it a good thing or a bad thing to give money to panhandlers? Listen, I was homeless. I never asked for money. I never begged for money. Nobody is going to benefit from you giving a panhandler or someone begging for money. No one's going to benefit who needs that money. If you give that money to somebody who is an addict, that money's going to go straight to the drug dealers, or to the liquor store. If you are giving money to somebody who's a scam artist, then you're just funding them to further their scam, and apparently they can make like $180 an hour just begging for money. I don't know. Do homeless ever die out on the streets? I'm sure it happens all the time. It's not the healthiest lifestyle, and a lot of these people, they seem like they're going to die all the time, but they still manage to survive out there. So I'm sure that they do. I'm sure that they're very discreet in picking them up, though. I heard that most people die out in the streets at like 4 a.m. So that's probably why you don't see dead people on the streets very often. Who deals with that? They're probably the first responders. I'm really sorry to hear about that, sad face. I don't know which one you're referring to, Danny. Jello Onions, do you think that progressive politicians are hurting the city of SF? Do you think a change in politics and politicians could help the area? Theoretically, right? Theoretically, but how often is there a politician who actually legitimately cares about improving things? Almost all the time, it's about their own selves. You know, it's if in political science, I learned that whoever raises the most campaign finances gets elected, and it's virtually an unbreakable law. So I don't know. I don't know if any sort of change in politics is really going to address it. Do you think the Bay Area is overpopulated? Do you feel like the influx of tech companies benefited the area? I mean, I guess, yes, the world is overpopulated. There's too many people. The influx of tech companies, yes, it benefited the area, but it doesn't benefit the people. A lot of people like to look at people suffering and think, like, let's improve the area. What happens is you improve the area becomes nicer. People with more money look and say, wow, this is a nice area. They move in there, and then the people who are in there suffering get pushed out. Let's see. Any more field stories from your childhood in foster care? Oh, I have so many. Let me get the other questions first. Let's see. Burnloff, CEO of Salesforce, says tech companies need to help with poverty in SF. But like you said, it sounds like lip service. He is the CEO of Salesforce. You know, that is not... I mean, think about who he is and what he does for a living. I mean, it's real easy to say stuff. He should have the financial means to make a difference if he really wants to. But I don't know. Any more field stories from your childhood in foster care? I don't know. See, I don't like to, draw pity for myself. You know, that's something that I always didn't like as a kid. I don't know. I can't even think of something. I mean, I could. Let's see. Do you own a car? How do you get around? No. That's one thing that's really nice about San Francisco is they have a really robust public transportation system. So you can get anywhere with public transit. Let's see. Something from the foster care system. Sorry, I feel like this is dead air. I don't mean to... America is filled with open space. Just drive between Reno and Vegas. Part of the problem is people choose to live in SF because that's where the money is spent and jobs are located. Yeah, I mean, I've looked online. There's lots of open space. I saw some place that was selling 300 acres of land here in California. That was... I mean, it was cheaper. It was cheaper than a condo here in San Francisco. The problem is that now you're completely removed from society, and there's no public schools or even electricity. The country itself is not overpopulated. Okay, I'm still trying to think of stuff. Well, I could think of one. So I was over in, living in Mac House. Here, let me go back. Let me talk about when I was actually in foster care. So first I was sort of jumping around here. So I was inside of a group home, called, SWRP. Steel Right Residential Program, and there was somebody there whose name was Jim, and he was very interested in my friend Carlos. He was interested in being his foster parent, and I mean, he seemed like a really cool guy. He would like he would spend his money to take people out. I mean, take the whole group home out to various events. You know, he took everybody out horseback riding and everything. I wasn't able to go, but you know, he would take people out on these really cool little adventures, and yeah, Carlos and him really bonded, and so he tried to foster Carlos, and Carlos ended up sabotaging it in the end because he didn't feel comfortable. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Okay. So, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So that fell through, right? Carlos was sort of 51-50'd, and I went and I told Jim, like, hey, you know, if you want to foster me, you know, I'd be open to it, even if Carlos didn't want to go with it. And he sort of thought about it and then decided to do it. But anyhow, because of that, I was able to get into the foster care system. I was in there with him, and you know, Jim was gay, and I didn't think anything about it at the time. He was the first gay person I had ever met, and it became apparent that he was a pedophile, and he was like using me to try to sleep with Carlos, and he was taking pills and drinking wine and stuff, and walking around the house naked, and it was really uncomfortable. I had to get out of there. The next foster home I went into was with this woman named Thao Pham. She's Vietnamese. She was one of the boat children who came over here from Vietnam during the Vietnam War, and I stayed with her, and you know, she was one of the few mother figures in my life, and you know, I used to call her Mother Tao, and yeah, she just was too young. She was 25, and I was like 16, and she didn't really feel there was a cultural difference, you know. In Asian cultures, it's more about there's a lot of self-regulation, and I was waiting for her to tell me to do stuff, and she would never tell me to do anything. But things didn't work out there, and then I moved over into another into another foster home with a woman named Rose. This woman did not like me. I was sort of used, just sort of. I guess as a foster parent, you get monetary vouchers, you know, clothes vouchers and other things, and that was never spent on me. I was wearing like ill-fitting clothes. Throughout my childhood, I always felt embarrassed because I used to be really overweight because of all the pills that I was on, and you know, most of the kids in the system are on antidepressants, and so I was just wearing these clothes that were too short, too big. I felt really uncomfortable, and none of the money that was supposed to be coming towards me to be spent on me was being spent on me. I had to pay for my own self to go to ride the bus to go to school, but I didn't have any allowance, so I used all the pocket money that I've saved up throughout my childhood living in the system to try to pay for bus fare, and eventually I ran out of money and couldn't go anymore. So I took the CHESP, the California High School Proficiency Exam, when I was 16, and everybody was really upset with me. And it was shocking to me that they were upset with me that I took the high school proficiency exam. You know, my social worker told me, like, if you pass this, I'm taking you out of here. And so I was thinking, oh, well, going back into the shelter then. And sure enough, I did pass it. And I was taken out of there, and I was put into a shelter, and then moved over into a transitional housing place, which I told you before was Mac House. Over there, I was excited. I was excited to go to City College. I was really excited. They wouldn't allow it. They wouldn't let me. They told me that I had to study, that the only way I could go there was if I was studying for a GED. And I was thinking, why do I need a GED? I have the proficiency exam. That's superior to GED. And they made me go to a continuation high school. They made me go to Ida B. Wells School over here in San Francisco. And I was sort of felt really miserable and crushed. You know, I felt like there's so much I wanted to do, and I was never able to do any of the things that I wanted to do. I was so motivated and ready to go. But yeah, I think looking back, they probably got their funding from from me going to high school. But maybe that story isn't really a feel story for you guys, but that's something that, okay, there it goes. Hit me right in the feels. Oh, are you still in contact with her? Oh, it's so sad. Well, I feel like it's sad, you know? I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, I still, like, there's a void, you know? I never really had a mother. I never even knew my own mother until I was 11, when I first met her and then wanted to move in with her. So, yeah, I mean, Tao, I always wanted to contact her and to stay in contact with her. She even made her her email is Mother Tao, and so I try to maintain contact with her, and then she's not really interested in talking to me. Okay, let's see. Any interesting happenings on Castro Street or with the Castro Street community? Well, let's see. I mean, I could easily go over there and try to see what's up. I can't think of anything right now. Oh man. Yeah, things when I was like, yeah, I don't know. I get a lot of attention when I go over there. How often do you see heavily armed police officers in SF? I go to Manhattan, New York, a lot, and along with a similar drug problem, there's so many armed police patrolling, especially in the subways. Wow, I could think of a couple of stories with heavily armed police. Sometimes on BART, you'll see things that'll just be shocking. It'll look like SWAT. Oh, and I've got some SWAT stories too. But yeah, it'll look like SWAT over inside BART, and it's the BART police that's just traveling with like shotguns and blast shields. Let's see. There's another. Let me share this story here. So when I lived with my mother over in Redwood City, you know, it was really, really difficult. You know, she would hallucinate both visual and auditory. She thought I was my dad at certain times. You know, and keep in mind I'm from 11 to 13. So I couldn't sleep. I would do things to try to get out of there, just to get some respite. And so I would pretend to kill myself. I mean, to try to kill myself. I would sort of, you know, put bags over my head, or like, you know, act like I was going to hang myself, and she would get scared and she would call 911, and I would be picked up and I'd be 5150'd. So that would be taken over into like a hospital, over the psychiatric ward, and yeah, I'd be able to sort of get some distance for a while, to sort of, like, you know, recover from how difficult it was over there. Later on, that's kind of how I would deal with how terrible it was over in the group homes. You know, when I wanted to leave a group home, I would, you know, make it look like I was going to kill myself, and then I would go into, I would be institutionalized essentially, and I would be able to get some distance. So in one of those institutions, I could go on about what it's like inside those institutions, but you know, they're not exactly a fun place to be in. I went to one, I think was in Oakland, and I was up, it was a multi-story building. We're up near the top. Apparently they have some sort of like rec area on the roof, but that was shut down for whatever reason. So we're just inside this building. There's these big plexiglass windows that can't open. You could never just, you can't get any fresh air. You know, you can't feel any breeze or anything. You're just kind of trapped in there. And, but anyhow, somebody tried to escape from there. And keep in mind, this is a facility for youth too. But she, like, one of the staff was getting out of there. You needed a key card to get in the elevator. They swiped the key card in there. The girl went in there and was in the elevator and was trying to go down, refusing to leave. They called SWAT over there, and that was intense. The SWAT repelled through the elevator shaft. They got into there, and it was no joke when they got in there. They meant business. They were throwing children. I was peeking through, like, my little room. I was just peeking down the hallway, and I was seeing, like, children getting kicked, children flying across the hallway. So I'd see one doorway and someone fly from one doorway into another room without touching the ground. Yeah, they were not fucking around at all when they came in there, which is crazy to think that this is, like, you know, basically a hospital that they're running rampant in. Okay, let's see. There's a lot of comments over here. What do you think about hate street and street kids in general? Street kids as in, like, homeless people, or like homeless people living with children? Let's see. Okay. Hello, who speaks Mandarin? Well, my wife speaks Mandarin and Cantonese. I know just a little bit of Mandarin, but I don't know how to read Chinese. I basically don't know any. Blacks, okay, okay. Do homeless ever get violent on people walking by them on the street? I talked about this last time. I was punched by somebody just walking down the street. Yeah, I can't read Chinese characters. I guess I could try to take this into Google Translate and see what's being said. Let's see. Or if anybody wants to translate what's in there. Although I find that, okay, let's see, Google, hold on. I don't know, I feel like this may be slowing down the whole podcast. So let me read the other question. Hate street kids, young adults who congregate in hate in places like Santa Cruz, not homeless per se, but lifestyle choices. Oh, so you mean like people who just like hang out in the park and grow dreads and smoke stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, that's not my scene. You know, I don't know. They basically live akin to homeless people, but are not actually homeless themselves. You know, there's a lot of I've seen people who've made their hold on one second. All right. I've seen people who've sort of transitioned from sort of just being somebody having a good time to being somebody who's living out on the street. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was gonna see what was being said in Chinese. Let me see. I speak Chinese and English. Oh man, then you should type in English. Let's see what the second thing was. I don't speak Cantonese. Yeah. I've seen some cultures promote hard work and success. That's most cultures, right? Yeah. You know what the problem is? I have it on top chat. I don't have it on live chat, so I can't see all the messages. Okay. There we go. All right. I think that a person's culture is an important factor in their success. Yes and no. Yes and no. Because you'll see people struggling in every culture. Yeah, some timeouts have been issued. Okay, let's see. So I've seen some cultures promote hard work and success. Yes. I mean, I think I was told the people you surround yourself with can determine your success. I don't know that that is true. I think you attract people who are similar to you. So if you're attracting people of a certain character, that reflects your own character, not if you just hang out with some people who are not you, that it's going to help you in some way. I've seen Japanese culture being hardcore about schoolwork and learning, but the Japanese still have homeless people. You know, their homeless people are very different. Japan has so many cultural issues. They have people, the women are not treated equally. Women don't even want to have children over there. You know, there's so many problems over in Japan. They have huge suicide rates. You know, things. Life is difficult anywhere you go. Chinese culture is also hardcore about hard work. Yeah, I mean, you know, if you were to look at like standardized testing, you would see that, you know, a lot of Asian cultures are up at the top, but every culture has their own issues. You know, there's a lot of untreated stuff over there. Lee's channel is an example of a person that is successful without culture, without the culture. I don't know, you know, I feel like a lot is made about culture, but I really think that it has to do more with upbringing and support. You know, a lot of these cultures that you're referencing have very strong support systems, and families sort of work together. Their priorities are different. You know, they're doing well in school is a high priority. Over in Japan, the public testing, the results for public testing are posted there on the wall for everyone to see, and there's a lot of shame involved with not doing well in testing. Is your YouTube channel still in jeopardy? Remember the announcement you made about the content strikes. I really hope everything works out for you because I love the channel. I don't feel confident. Right now I have no strikes. But, you know, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. That's why I'm trying to sort of branch out. You know, I want people to join me on some sort of other platform in case I just am hit with a ban hammer. Because at any point in time, YouTube can just decide, whoop, you're gone. YouTube likes to give a lot of, like, you know, they like to pretend like they're interested in people talking about social issues or controversial subjects. However, they will ban your ass hard if you do anything that anybody doesn't like, and you have no idea what they do or do not like, and it may change from person to person, and there's no transparency about how things operate behind the curtain. You know, they have a whole system for people who are trying to instigate social change. However, it's by invitation. Like, I went over to go click on there to try to join, and they wouldn't let me join in there. They've accused me of harassing people and promoting dangerous acts, you know. And yeah, that's what I got my strikes for. Let's see. So yeah, so if you notice, you know, I'm my most recent video, I put a disclaimer up. I'm trying to be very, very cautious to try to make sure that nothing happens to my channel. But listen, if you could follow me on Twitter or anything else like that, it would make me feel a lot better, because then I would know at least some of my fan base I would still have connection with. Right now I only have like 30 something people following. So I mean, it would suck to have, you know, 16,500 people that you know were a fan of the things that I've done just be wiped out. Okay, let's see, a lot about Korean culture. Chinese culture is more open about some things than others. But at the same time, you know, it's hard. Like, the government like censors things so heavily over in China. I mean, you gotta be on top of things. Like, you have to be on like Weibo or those other social networks to see what the real news is before the government comes in and just wipes things out. Let's see. I mean, you know, yeah. There's a lot of issues anywhere you go. Let's see. The Chinese. Okay. Let's see. There is an aspect of shame in the Mandarin class as well. In China, the government is hardcore about censorship. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't instill a lot of confidence, right? For me, I feel like if a government needs to censor its people, then it's not doing a proper job. You know, the U.S. gets a lot of flack, it gets a lot of criticism, but part of that is because we're so open. Our own people are publicly talking about things. I mean, you look over in China, you see people like Ai Weiwei and other people, they go into work camps for saying stuff, you know? You talk about how the government failed and, you know, like they didn't build proper buildings and children are dying, you know, because the things were not earthquake safe, and you get put away in work camp, and you may or may not survive in that work camp. You know, you're talking about Japan. Over in Asia, the corruption is so much more intense than it is over here in the U.S. I mean, the Yakuza was part of the reason why the I mean, like they were in there with the Yakuza was involved with the contracting for the dam that was not sufficient, that caused the whole Fukushima disaster. South Korea is also known for heavy corruption, but let's see, South Korea can also have hardcore censorship. If the Korean government thinks something is against the Korean government or is harmful towards the Korean people, it would also be blocked. South Korea, yeah. And you know, there's all kinds of weird, you know, Samsung has sort of a weird familial relationship with the South Korean government too. But anyhow, I think this is getting pretty far off where we first started. Does anybody else have any other questions for me? Anything else they want to say? Anything you want me to respond to? Would you feel safe going out often with your family in SF? How about making videos with them sometimes? I would like to, but at the same time, you know, they would have to, that would rely on my wife being comfortable with it, and then there's also my child to think about. There's sort of a safety and comfort in being anonymous. So I don't know, that's something that to consider, you know. I like right now that I'm able to do my stuff and not be recognized. I mean, of course, right now I'm doing live streams, so the benefit is not very many people are viewing the live stream. But if I became you know, just a well-known figure, and it's not like I exactly blend in, being 6'8", it might be hard to do the stuff that I do here on this channel. I would think Japan is more free than most Asian countries. I don't see freedom over in Japan, you know. I feel like people are really restricted. I mean, I just recently watched a little thing on those people who are living in those hourly hotels. Yeah. Anyhow, what is it like in the San Francisco Chinatown? Well, I mean, Chinatown is really dirty and filthy. The people are kind of rude there. People spit out on the streets. People will try to walk right through you, bump into you. There's, I mean, it's hard because on the one hand, some of it is really beautiful, but on the other hand, some of it is really filthy. I mean, not some of it. Most of Chinatown is pretty dirty. Yeah, let's see. Do you ever attend concerts or live music in the city? I have before, but I haven't been doing much of that recently as I've been sort of raising my child. In Hong Kong, some of the people use cages as homes. Yeah, that's no good. Let's see. All right, how long have we've been up here? I can't really easily see. Okay, it's been an hour and 50 minutes here. Should I stay longer? Should I wrap it up? I'll leave it to you guys. You guys let me know. Do you have any more questions or anything? Anything you guys want to say? Any more stories or anything? See, I'll wait like 10 more seconds. All right. Well, thank you guys for... Oh, wait. I wanted to ask one question. One more story about your interest in filming and how you discovered it. Okay. All right. So, one last thing. Okay. First, I'll answer this question. One more story about your interest in filming and how you discovered it. So my... the very first video... Okay, well, let's see. So I guess I first started off with an interest in the arts, you know, in fine art. And that was my initial passion, but then I realized that I realized there wasn't much future in traditional fine art, you know, in graphite and charcoal, like figure drawings and portraiture and stuff like that. And then from there I moved on to filmmaking. You know, I love photography, and I love everything about the cameras, the lenses. You know, I think that a lot of that stuff is really beautiful. I love cinematography, but at the same time, like narrative filmmaking feels kind of forced, you know. But so I became really drawn into documentaries. But at the same time, the first video that I put up on YouTube, I was actually not the first video, but the first video about like the situations over here. I was waiting for the bus, and I didn't have my glasses, and I couldn't really see. I had taken out my contacts because they were bothering my eyes. So, like, you know, I have really terrible vision. I could probably see that far before things get blurry. And so this guy was yelling, and I was like, what's going on? Is he yelling at me? So I took out my phone and I recorded just so I could see on the preview screen what was going on. And he was yelling and pointing at the air and slapping his own self. And that video is still up right now. That was the first video that I had put up like that. I put that video up, and then I noticed that a lot of people were really interested in that, and that sort of, I went with it and shaped my channel around that. Okay, like, do this again. Good job. Thanks, Lee. Great. Thank you guys, everybody. And, oh, next time. Oh, I wanted to ask, are you guys interested in me going around downtown and doing a live stream like this, but trying to talk to people? And, do you like my idea of, you know, bringing my shirts along, and when people donate, like giving out shirts and stuff like that? I want to hear you guys' opinion. Are you going to do a Werner Herzog style documentary? I need to really get familiar with Werner Herzog before I say yes or no. Yes, go downtown, but be careful. Okay. Looking for new. Yes. Okay. All right. So that's what I'll do. Should I do this? Should I do it tomorrow, or should I wait until next week? Man on the street. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. All right. Well, you know what? I'm gonna stop the video now because I feel like it's dragging to a close. Thank everybody thank you everybody for watching, and yes, let me know in the comments what you guys think, or any other questions that you wish you could have asked, and I'll try to respond to them. All right, bye. Oh, gotta keep